The name of today's story is Topher the Gopher, how he got his name. There was a little boy named Toby who had a tabby cat named Garth. Toby would put Garth on a leash, and his tabby cat would walk beside him just like a puppy dog. The other cats said to Garth, "Why do you do that? Why do you walk beside your human? That's what dogs do. We don't do that. We walk where we want to go, and the humans follow us. You are ruining the reputation of cats." Garth didn't listen to their criticism and their complaining. He did what he wanted to do. He wanted to see where his human was going and what he was going to do when he got there. One day, Toby got a shovel and a watering can with water in it and took Garth's leash and hooked it over his wrist, and they walked to the very back of their backyard. There was no fence back there. Instead, there were a lot of shady trees that made a beautiful woods with a lot of shade in it. But Toby and Garth were stopped at the edge of the woods, and they were still standing in the bright sunshine. And on the ground was a little pot that had a little tomato plant in it, about a foot high. Toby dug a hole with his shovel, and he put plant food in the dirt and mixed it up, and then placed the little tomato plant in the hole and covered up the roots with the dirt, and the last thing he did was to water it. He explained to Garth, "I love tomatoes, Garth, and I love to watch them grow. When they first grow, they're not a tomato, they're a yellow blossom on the plant. And then the yellow blossom goes away, and there's a tiny little green marble there instead. And that little green marble grows and grows and grows until it's a green ball on the plant. Sometimes I pick the tomatoes when they're green. Then Mommy slices them and rolls them in cornmeal and fries them in the frying pan, and we have fried green tomatoes. But sometimes I wait until the green tomato turns bright red and it's nice and juicy, and then I take it and I slice it and I put it on my hamburgers." The next morning, Toby and Garth went out to check on his tomato plant. "Oh no!" cried Toby. Something had chewed on his tomato plant and ruined it. Toby told his mother what had happened, and she said, "Well, it was probably a gopher from the woods. They like to eat tender little plants. And deer and rabbits do too. You will have to put a wire mesh fence around your plants so that the animals can't get in your garden and eat them." Garth went that afternoon by himself into the woods, walking around looking for Mr. Gopher, who he found coming out of his home, which was a hole in the ground by the trunk of a tree. Garth said to him, "Say, Mr. Gopher, you made my human sad this morning when you ate his tomato plant." Now, this gopher was special. He wasn't like other gophers that did whatever they wanted to do, whether it made somebody else sad or not. He said, "I'm so sorry I made your human sad. What is his name?" Toby said, "His name is," Garth said, "his name is Toby. And I don't like to see him sad because he's very good to me." Mr. Gopher said, "Well, I am so sorry that I made your human sad." And Toby said, "Well, even if you don't eat his plants, Mrs. Deer and her baby will, and Mrs. Rabbit." And Mr. Gopher came up with a plan. He said, "I will make a deal with them. I will strike a bargain with them. I will bring them plants from other places to eat if they will not eat Toby's plants." And he did. He made that bargain with Mrs. Rabbit and Mrs. Deer and her baby. And he brought them plants, and they ate them, and they did not eat Toby's plants, and Toby did not have to put a wire mesh fence around his garden. Because Mr. Gopher was helping a human named Toby, they nicknamed him Topher. And that's how Topher the Gopher got his name.